Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Duke and Dutch Show, where we are talking about our former Madam Vice President, Kamala Harris. And her,
Kamala!
And her book, 107 Days, which is due to be released. People have already gotten pre-order copies, or I guess pre-launch copies of the book, however you want to say it. And again, I put my foot in my mouth, as I always do. Because sometimes I just don't have all the relevant information. I have to correct it. Now, I said the one thing I think you can admire Kamala for is that Kamala seems like a very loyal subordinate, a loyal soldier. She didn't throw Biden under the bus. Actually, and I think that was, I don't think she would have won anyway, but to her detriment during her campaign in the 2024 election, she should have differentiated herself from Biden and threw him under the bus. But,
everyone remembers that View interview.
Yeah, which is we're going to come up with because I have a thing from Jesse Waters. But apparently, Kamala has, we know she does like buses. We do know that. But she's gotten multiple buses, and she's throwing literally everybody under them, from Mayor Pete to Joe and Jill Biden to Josh Shapiro to
look at that.
Tim Walz. And I think, honestly, this is kind of going to be the end of her career. But Jesse Waters
I'd be surprised. Nobody's gonna want it. Nobody's gonna want to. I don't even know what she do anything with her.
I don't even know what she could run for anymore. But it's like, this is a colossal betrayal. I wish I had that clip from The View, because
too little, too late in my book. Because you had your chance to tell the truth, and like you said, we viewed her as on borderline even being loyal because she wouldn't oust anybody. It's like, well,
I didn't even think it was borderline.
It's kind of like similar to the Scott Jennings thing. It's like, you waited this long to oust anyone. It's like, well, so did you have integrity or did you not have integrity? I'm confused here. I guess you were just waiting for the opportune time.
I don't know if anyone has integrity anymore. Even South Park got rid of integrity, but
no more integrity.
Yeah, that was probably a smart move on their part.
Yeah. Kamala's selling out her friends to sell her new book, and there's no coming back from this. Kamala's going after the First Lady, Jill Biden.
Oh no!
Remember when Jill kissed Doug at the State of the Union? Well, the doctor.
Yeah, wasn't that a wild moment? Why would you? Why would you?
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
I just don't understand why. It's like, that's just.
Yeah, on national TV too. On top of it, it's like,
they look like they're enjoying it though, and I mean, this person over here, I don't know who this is, but doesn't seem weirded out by it at all. I don't know. I mean, maybe there was.
It's a normal Tuesday. I'm sure it's not the first time.
I knew.
But anyway, I know sometimes you might go in for that cheek kiss, and then we misaligned it. We kind of picked a little bit. No. That's a full-fledged mouth-on-mouth kiss right there.
I know Biden was probably the most liberal president we've ever had. I just didn't know his White House was this liberal.
That's pretty friendly.
On the 4th. Doug thought he was getting another kiss. Instead, he got threatened. Jill Biden said, "Are you supporting us?" Doug responded, of course, we're supporting you." "Okay, that's really important. We need to know that." Doug got angry, and you won't like him very much when he's angry.
I hope he wasn't slapping anybody around. Those are allegations from what I've heard. They're not confirmed, but we've heard those rumors, everybody, that when Doug gets angry, that hand comes out. He's pretty liberal with it. But again,
I got no comment. I don't know any information about that.
Very well. That's like a rumor that happened with I think a nanny back in the day or something like that. It's never. They've never actually. I don't think they've ever addressed those allegations at all. And again, you can make allegations against anybody, so maybe it's completely untrue. It could be completely untrue. Don't know. But again, I hear he's liberal with those hands, which that's the rumor anyway.
Seems like they're reporting something similar, so I don't know. Let's see.
Playing to his wife, quote, "They hide you away for 4 years, give you impossible bleep jobs. Don't correct the record when those tasks are mischaracterized, and still they have to ask if we're loyal."
They do that.
Kamala regrets not throwing Biden under her electric bus earlier. She said this moment was like pulling the pin on a hand grenade. Watch.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
Almost done.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Yeah, and that really was
that's the interview.
A tide changing type of thing. I mean, we went from Brat Summer everyone's falling out of the coconut trees. There was such joy and hype around her, even though she didn't really do anything for the first 45 days. I think you could actually cut this book down from 107 days and, subtract the 45 away from it,
We already all know how wonderful of a job she did with the border.
Yeah. Well, she didn't want that job. And you know what? That would have looked bad with her constituents as well, because we know the Democrats, the liberals, they don't mind the borders wide open. So if she enforced that, that probably wouldn't have been something great for her record. So I guess her plan was
That'd be opposite of their goal.
Yeah.
Kamala tried being graceful, and it killed her campaign.
Yeah.
Biden, he was bitter. He threatened Kamala on the night of her debate. And then the day after, put on a Trump hat.
He did do that.
Did he really?
I don't know why he did this, but yeah, he somehow. I mean, this was also just a terrible look. Why? How could somebody convince him to put on a Trump hat? I don't know, but random guy just convinced him to put it on.
Kamala says MAGA Joe's ego really hurt her. She needed somebody in her corner, but her VP was a huge disappointment. Kamala watched Tampon nod along with Vance at the VP debate and was yelling at her TV screen. You're not here to...
Yeah, picking Tim Walz also was a huge mistake.
...make friends with the guy who's attacking your running mate. We know Tampon wasn't her first pick. She wanted Mayor Pete, but thought he was too gay. Pete read the book, and he's not happy with Kamala.
I was surprised when I read that. I just believe in giving Americans more credit than that. My experience in politics has been that the way that you earn trust with voters is based mostly on what they think you're going to do for their lives, not on categories.
Isn't it very interesting, though, that the liberals, who are so very accepting, identity politics is their bread and butter, but you wouldn't have picked this guy because of his sexuality.
Because of his identity.
And yet, for some reason, the Republicans or the conservatives are always the hateful ones. It doesn't really...
We're the ones that... or not we, because, again, I'm not really conservative. I'm moderate conservative. But the left, the far right is supposedly the ones that...
supposedly, they're the ones that are hateful. They're not accepting of anybody. But, I mean, this is at the top. Right? This is the top of, you're at the top of the ticket here. You could have picked Pete Buttigieg. I don't know if it would have helped you at all, but, but to hear the reasoning is, well, I didn't want him because he was gay. It's like,
from your own mouth, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, well, from your own ghostwriter.
Yeah.
Kamala had her eye on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, too, but thought he'd steal the spotlight from her and thought he was too cocky.
No. She didn't pick Shapiro. Shapiro would have been a great pick because it probably would have delivered Pennsylvania to Kamala, and she needed those key swing states. Pennsylvania is the swing state with the largest amount of delegation. It's 19, I believe. So, and that's, that would have been an easy pick. Why couldn't she do that? Well, Shapiro's Jewish. And that would have also went against the whole Free Palestine movement that took over the left. They wouldn't have liked him. Specifically because I don't even know what his politics are in Israel, Palestine. I have no idea. But that wouldn't have worked because I don't know why you're saying cocky. It's because he was Jewish. That's what I believe anyway. Because, how are you going to support Palestine when you're running with somebody who's Jewish? Again, identity politics just messes up the left. And yet they're the people who are so much more accepting and tolerant. Yeah.
Shapiro kept asking his aides about how he should redecorate the VP's residence. And he's not happy with Harris either. Shapiro says Kamala was part of the cover-up.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't read the former vice president's book, and she's going to have to answer to how she was in the room and yet never said anything publicly.
If I remember from her previous interview, or at least I forget exactly who with, I barely spent, I'm only his vice president. I barely spent enough time with a president to notice anything.
Yeah. No, well, but in the other breath with Sunny Holston, she said I was a part of all the major decisions. So then,
yeah,
you probably
Which one was it?
You could have actually, and the other thing too, Biden was supposed to be a transitional president, and somehow that got changed around. I guess people who have power, they fear to lose it. But yeah, he was supposed to be a transitional president, but apparently that didn't happen, or he didn't trust Kamala. Obviously, insiders say they were not very fond of each other.
Kamala tried calling Newsom too, but he sent her to voicemail. Quote, hiking. We'll call back. wrote the former vice president in her notes from her calls that day.
Wow.
Never called her back. Newsom's smart enough not to jump on a sinking ship. Walz, the perfect sucker for the job. At least he got cupcakes for election night that had to be
Also, listen, if you're not going to pick Pete Buttigieg because he's too gay, her words, not mine, her words, why would you pick Tim Walz? He's not fooling anybody. You can just tell, man. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't.
Hey, I'm not going to assume on that. Definitely, I'm not going to assume on that, but I know what you're saying. I definitely understand your argument there.
Decorated as the results rolled in. Quote, Harris's social secretary peeled icing that read Madam President off the cupcakes that had been ordered for the occasion and sent them out to the campaign staffers along with wine. Trump called Kamala after she conceded. Turns out
the wine was probably a good touch. Probably could use that wine. Yeah.
The dictator wasn't so mean. Quote, I'm going to be so nice and respectful. You are a tough, smart customer. And I say that with great respect. And you also have a beautiful name. I got use out of that name. It's Kamala. Democrats are in deep. Their last nominees on a book tour trashing the party. And the bench is full of commies and crazies. Right now, the betting markets have Hunter ahead of Crooked, Beto, and Bernie.
Oh, my God.
He's the only Democrat that can blow through $2 billion quicker than Kamala.
True.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I don't know if that was I don't know if that was a joke or there was any truth in that, but it's like, I would.
Either way, hold on one second.
Yeah, I would hope not, but
seriously, no,
so,
please, God.
I wanted to play this because like I said, I can't find too many people talking about it. I think the Charlie Kirk thing's kind of taken over the news cycle, and not that Kamala's book's going to sell anyway. I don't think many people are going to buy it, but Stephen A.
It's going to be similar to the whole Scott Jennings thing. It's like, why should we believe you now, since you've been saying there wasn't any issue for this many years? Now there's an issue. Like, you're just the flavor of the week of who wants to throw someone under the bus, you know?
So, yeah, but I think Stephen A. had a pretty good take on this. And I think he's 100% right. I don't often agree with Stephen A., but he has a good take every once in a while, so let's hear it.
I believe Kamala Harris's political career is over.
Facts.
I think you've seen the last of her with this book, politically. I'm quite sure she's a highly intelligent woman, very accomplished. She's a former state attorney general. She's a former senator. She's a former vice president of the United States, and obviously the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States in 2024. But this was the last straw, and I'm going to tell you why. Because
before he tells us why, I would think it's because, I mean, literally everybody you just started chucking under buses. You had to buy buses.
Who's going to want to be with her? Yeah. Who would be on her side at this point?
The one thing you had going for you, like I said, was that you were too loyal, I think, to Biden. There should have been a way that you could distinguish yourself from Biden and say, listen, I would have done this differently or that differently without throwing him under the bus. And you did that throughout your you didn't do that throughout your campaign. You just agreed with everything he said. I wouldn't change anything, yada, yada, yada. And then to come out and say, well, everything I said was a lie. I hated Biden. I hated Jill. I couldn't trust anybody within my own party. So I couldn't pick Buttigieg. He was too gay. Couldn't pick Shapiro.
You're willing
too
to
Jewish.
lie to the public. You're willing to lie to the public to advance politically. That's what she told us.
Well, she is a politician.
Not that we needed her to tell us that. But she openly admitted to it. Yeah. And that's one thing, like, most politicians don't at least admit to that. Like, she blatantly at this point is admitting, hey, I was lying. Yep. And I did lie to you guys, and I was okay with lying to you guys, but I'm not okay anymore because I have a different goal. Or whatever it is, whatever her rationale.
That's the one thing as a politician you have to do when you get caught in a lie. You're just supposed to lie again. Everybody knows that. That's politics 101.
Although I'm certainly not an advocate of her diming out her boss and talking about whatever deficiencies he may have had. You could have said something. You could.
Yeah, and that's what I think everybody says. It's like,
time.
You should have been able to step in, take the reins, or at least assert yourself in some notable way. But you didn't. You just let the country. Nobody knows who was running the country. Nobody knows
She
who was running
didn't
the
spend
country.
enough time. She didn't know. She was doing other things. She didn't see what was happening behind the scenes.
Who ran the White House? Nobody knows who ran the White House. It was on cruise control. Staffers were running.
Apparently, it wasn't the president. It wasn't
Office.
the vice president.
Nobody
it wasn't
knows.
anyone in the cabinet. Apparently, who knows? Still to this day, who knows?
Well,
Something other than what you did. And I don't want to hear about 107 days and that's all you had. You know what 107 days gave you? It gave you the opportunity to take over the campaign and do it your way instead of capitulating to what his people wanted you to do and you doing whatever you thought was necessary under the realm or the guise of loyalty.
And yeah, and you know what, that shows real, I mean, looking back, it shows real weakness. It really does.
And costing, and in some people's eyes, costing yourself the presidency. There are things that she could have done that was more effective. Don't get me started with her appearance on The View. Don't get me started when Sonny Houston looked at her and said, is there anything that you would do differently than Joe Biden? And I can't think of anything. Nobody wants to hear that when the country was in the state that it was in, and we knew that change was the order of the day, and you had a candidate that was not only using her rhetoric, her verbiage, and...
Yeah, I think that really was the interview that sunk her campaign. Yeah. And the interesting thing is
It'll always be the interview.
The View is such a friendly place, and it was such an easy softball question that Sonny Houston never would have.
That's one thing that you would do differently.
Sonny Houston never would have asked that if she thought it was going to blow up in Kamala's face. She was trying to give her a nice little
many
lob.
Things that could have been said. Yep. So many things.
So many things that could have been said. So many things that weren't said.
I wouldn't do anything different.
Him, but also was accusing her as hiding and engaging in his own definition of machismo or misogynism or whatever you want to call it, to point out how he was a man's man and he goes everywhere and he talks to everyone, while she was not willing to do that initially. And then you come out with a book in the aftermath of it all, and you've talked about Pete Buttigieg and him being gay, or you talked about Josh Shapiro, the governor that I just interviewed the other day, and you talked about him being too eager for the vice presidency when he was clearly a better choice than Tim Walz, or you want.
Yeah, but the other thing too, maybe even you want to discount the Jewish thing and how it would have went against the Free Palestine people who were in her party, Shapiro would have outshined her. He would have. Shapiro is, I think, a much more savvy, smart politician than Kamala Harris. He would have outshined her. And
he has very clear politics, very clear stances on politics. You
always want to pick a VP who is going to be great, great for your campaign and can help you. Get a swing state, which he could have, but yeah, he would have definitely outshined her. So I think that might have played into it as well.
To talk about Gavin Newsom now, but you wouldn't do it before. Nobody's trying to hear that now. That is a candidate that's on her way out the door, and I'm not saying I wish it. I've had the pleasure of meeting her once before. She is a very nice person, very accomplished. I respect her, but when I look at the excerpts from this book, it's too little, too late. And that's what this comes down to.
I think that's the general consensus. I don't know who.
That's exactly what I
don't know why anybody encouraged her to write this book. This was not a good idea.
Where was this? Yeah, where was this a few years? Where was this 2 years ago? Where was this 1 year ago? Where was this anywhere?
As far as I am concerned, I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe her political career is over.
I think
the minute people buy and read it with the stuff that she could have said and the stuff that she could have done, but refrained from doing, which obviously contributed to her losing the election. It's too little, too late. Are you in it to win it or not? She wasn't, and that is that.
Yep. I think
like you stated, I don't necessarily agree with his stances every single time, but that one, absolutely, he hit it right on the head.
That was a good take. Yeah, he's right. Yeah. I think everything. I don't think anything that Stephen A. said was wrong right there. So
correct.
I think Kamala. I don't even think she ran. She was thinking about taking over for Newsom in California, but I think she might be worried that maybe she can't even win that. I don't know. I don't think this book is going to help her in any sort of way. And I think he's right. You probably see her fade out of politics, but. Hey, it is what it is.
Who would put their money behind somebody who just wrote this book?
Probably not anybody now.
I don't see anybody willing to put millions of dollars behind.
I don't see the Democrat Party bailing her out of this one either. You just stabbed too many people in the back. You said too many things out loud, and now it looks like you're Judas. You betrayed your whole party. You stabbed your boss in the back when it didn't matter. By the way, it doesn't matter now. Yeah. But
for zero reasons,
just so you can make money off of this book, I guess. But
to write a book.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it'll be I don't know. Maybe I'll pick it up. Might be a good read. There's a lot of dirt in it about the Democrats. I love the dirt about the Democrats. So maybe I will buy the book. I don't know. We'll see. But I guess I'll get some good read reviews or something before that. I don't really want to pay Kamala money.
I wonder if there's an audiobook available with her reading it.
That's something great to fall asleep to.
We all know she's really good at speeches.
Yeah, you gotta fall asleep to that. That'd be beautiful. But that's gonna, hey, let us know down below. What do you think? Is Kamala? Is she done? I think she's done. I think it's over for her.
Yeah.
But
Leave
a like on the video. Share it out to your friends, your enemies, your pets. We have really good, cats love us. Dogs.
And I just got one last thing to say for Kamala. I think your political career is over.
It's a trombone.
Yeah.
Ah, it's trombone. Yeah, she's trombone.
It's definitely tromboned.
She's done.
You're boned. It's over.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, she's boned. I can see that. Okay. All right, we're gonna leave it there, and we will catch you in the next one.